Terry, where are you?
Bro, it's Mad Monday. Cronulla lost. You said we were meeting in Bali. I'm in
Bali.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Rugby League Outlaws. Let's just jump straight into our Sharks, Dan. And of course, this segment is always brought to us by the people at Winnett Civil Grading. We were in it to win it, and unfortunately, being down in Melbourne, the power of the storm just wasn't to be for the Sharks this week, Dan.
It's just too much. Like, you got people flying into the messages saying this person's to blame, this person's to blame. Simply put, Melbourne won the big moments. You ran it down the other night when we had a chat in one of our NRLW preamble chat. The big four of the storm all had big moments. I'm gonna put this aside. Thanks to I'm a member next year, so you can't bag me already.
Boom.
Mate, just reliving it. Amazing night. Great night. Great occasion. Enjoyed it. Can't wait to be back there again next year. Hopefully go one better.
Mm-hmm.
They just had four best players on the field, mate. And they all had big moments. And we're sitting here saying once again, what if?
Yeah. Look, and as you say, the first try, whatever, right? Say it's a forward pass, say whatever it is. The first try, take it out. We fought back pretty well. The second try, Stefano, an offload to Jerome Hughes, who just ran through us. Jerome Hughes, top two halfback in the NRL, reigning Dally M medalist for a reason. We fight back and score another try. Going into halftime, they catch Will Kennedy defending in the line. Cameron Munster, pause him for a second, puts a chip over the top. Their fullback runs through. That's three of their spine players who have now shown up. It's 18 points to 10. The game's on the line, 10 minutes to go. Harry Grant sees no markers, checks out a dummy half, bang, down they go, score an easy try. Their guys had the big moments. Now, you want to talk about a big game player. Cam Munster has sort of skittled through this year. I don't even think he was nominated for the Dally M58 for the year.
No, I don't think so.
He just sort of cruised through the year, stepped up against Penrith, stepped up the first time they played Brisbane, just sort of stepped up in the big moments. And he is, without a shadow of a doubt, like Mr. Big in games, right? I know I said I would take him in a big game. If you said to me, Terry, build your 1 to 17 to go out in a finals game or an origin game, the first name on that sheet is C. Munster.
You're exactly right. But we can talk about how good Melbourne were. And they were. And I thought Cronulla did themselves no disservice. I thought they did us all proud, as you know, much of a cop-out as that sounds, because we're here to win premierships, not make prelims. I do have one issue with how we played, and that is that Jerome Hughes made 9 tackles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, big time.
Now, a lot of people, myself included, said, let's hope we don't go away from the game plan. Let's not just turn it into a Jerome Hughes-a-thon, because that doesn't work, and they would have worked to that all week. Any halfback making less than 20, 25 tackles a game is just unforgivable in this day and age, let alone one bloke coming in under a huge arm and shoulder. I believe there were 2, or wrist and arm and shoulder issue. I just think we got it wrong. We didn't exploit the one weakness we had, and it's not as though we tried it and it didn't work. He made 9 tackles in 80 minutes of prelim final football. That's just not good enough, unfortunately.
No, it's not. And believe it or not, the sadist in me has gone back and rewatched that game just to see where it went wrong. And whilst it won't get highlighted because it wasn't a grand final, they very much played him like the Cooper Cronk role, in that anytime we pointed to go his side, he just dropped back and Melbourne slid, and they dared us to play around him. They did. They and there was a lot of times, like, you go back and watch that game, Ramian had lots of runs with lots of meters, and Britt Nickera, when he came on, found space out there, and Sione Katoa found space, and Billy Burns found space. And if you go back and you have a look at Katoa's second try, the space is created because Jerome Hughes dropped back, and it was I don't know. The game plan, you don't want to change your game plan, but at the same time, there was a glaring weakness there, man.
We've dropped into the groups because we were just looking for people to, because we watched it together. So obviously we had a very similar outlook on it. We've been talking, mates, Paul and Bossy and others. And it seems to be everyone was just like, we're just outplayed. The Facebook groups have put Nico Hines as 110% the only one who played badly on the night. Others, myself included, are saying it's probably time to move on from Jesse Ramian. Unfortunately, Kay Aliro lost his first one-on-one to Nick Meaney early on, in and away. Jesse Colquhoun and Teague Wilton both probably saved their worst defensive
tackle again. They will never miss that tackle again.
What I mean, as you're running, if you tell me, Dan, out of our starting 13, I want 2 blokes to handle a bloke in one tackle, 2-on-1, who has an arm injury, it's Colquhoun and Wilton. Like it's those two, and they just got brushed away. I just think it was a combination of Melbourne were too good, and don't forget, we played an extra game. They rested a whole heap of players before the final series that we couldn't. I maintain you can't win it from outside the top 4, and if you don't have that week off, it makes it very difficult, as we'll discuss with Penrith later. Do you think we need to panic and make wholesale changes, or is it just that 1 and 2 next year?
No, I don't think we need to make wholesale changes because, at the beginning of the year, you had us in third, I had us in third as well, and at the end of the day, we finished third. Mm-hmm. That's the way you look at it. I still wish that they would do a Saturday night 3rd versus 4th playoff. You could have Sharks and Newcastle in the NRLW, and you could have Sharks versus Panthers on Saturday night. It would sell out. Play it in Perth. Yeah, play it at Perth. Play it at Shark Park. Play it wherever. Just get some people in there. That would be heaps of fun. But I don't think I've always looked at it and thought the injection of new blood from outside the club is probably something that we need. But when you have a look at the injection of the new blood that came into the team this year from internally, like Chris Faella against the Roosters didn't look overawed. Jesse Colquhoun came in and started at lock and looked sensational. Mawini Hiroti, you can't tell me that Michael Gabriel, who scored 21 tries in 16 games in New South Wales Cup, wouldn't kill for a shot out there. Sam Stonestreet started the year and he scored, 8 tries in 8 games to take his total to 16 in 16? Like, we've got the players. I know we're going to start 2026 with the same squad. I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope at least there is like a Sione Katoa is tapped on the shoulder and told that he can take a 1-year deal somewhere before signing to Perth. I don't know.
I maintain we lack X factor. I'm not disappointed. If you told me pre-season we make another prelim, I'm happy with that. I know Adam Fanua-Blake was kind of the missing piece. We probably needed 2 or 3, if we're being honest. We jumped a bit ahead there, as rugby league fans do. I still maintain that I think Gabriel is the next superstar. Mm-hmm. Whether he has 1 more year in New South Wales Cup or I'm hoping he doesn't need it and starts next year. And I still maintain that as well as Sione Katoa played, and he played really, really well in the last 3 games, he's just slow. We saw that. He almost got run down despite a 20-metre head start. Not having to go. Again, he was fantastic. We just don't have the X factor. You go back to the start of the year, and remember Cronulla was scoring length of the field tries for laughs. Sam Stonestreet was involved in all but one of them, which was Ronaldo, Kennedy, and Iro. We need that speed. We need that X factor. You can't get into a set-to-set game with the likes of Melbourne because they have 4 players with X factor. We probably have 2, and one of them just decided that he probably wasn't going to play his best game ever in Hines. I thought Trindle was exceptional the other night. But outside of that, where does the X factor go? You got Iro, who's very capable of it, but he's a center. I just feel like we need that speedster. We need to go around them. We need to go over the top. We need to go in the air. We just didn't have any X factor, unfortunately.
No, that's the thing. Like, you could tell that Melbourne were throwing bombs to both our wingers, right? But we could only bomb one side, and that was Ronaldo and Warbrick. And unfortunately, Will Warbrick decided that he didn't have flippers for hands on Friday night. The good Will Warbrick turned up. And don't get me wrong, he's a sensational talent. But under the high ball, he's been, pretty bad. And Trindle put up a spiral bomb that you and I, we won't repeat the cursive words that came out of our mouth when Trindle hit that ball. But holy hell, he hit that ball. And you're sitting there thinking, Warbrick's going to drop this and we're going to get the ball. Nope, swallowed it. But we couldn't go and bomb Xavier Coates because it's essentially producer Did's putting a kick up for me to you to chase.
It's just not fair. Look, I don't want to bag anyone because I thought, again, we made a prelim and it's hard to complain. Like I've seen like Tigers fans running at us and Penrith going, "Oh, you couldn't take the extra step." Now you guys have won like 10 games in 5 years. Go away. So I think we're very, very blessed. But we'll discuss this big time on Fins Up. But any closing remarks before we move on to the other prelim?
I just want to talk about the I thought everyone on our team was about a 7 out of 10, right? Because yes, Hines had a drop ball, but Hines also had the line break assist for a try. Trindle's kicking game was good, but he gave the penalty away. Fanua Blake's first stint wasn't good, but his second stint was sensational. Toby Rudolph was consistent. Blake Brayley was a bit quiet, but get into the game. I thought everyone was a 7 out of 10, right? Across the field. You go back and you have a look at Melbourne. Their players were probably a 7.5 out of 10. They were that half a step better, but their X Factor players were just insane. And that was it. That's what killed us.
Yep, exactly right. Now, we've got something special coming either this week or next on Fins Up. Check it out. Terry's worked exceptionally hard on this, which means it's passionate. It's about a certain coach of a certain football team. But
we might even have to go live so everyone can appreciate the data.
Well, look, I'm always up for a live chat. Now, just quietly, we are doing this virtually because Terry's in Bali and I missed my flight. Mad Monday, I dressed up as a handsome podcast host. So did Terry. We didn't coordinate. But luckily for us, unlike any other team in the competition, we had a second prelim this weekend. Didn't go our way. But if you told me we'd lose by 1 point to the Roosters, I'm telling you, you're absolutely mad. What a performance from the girls.
Now, you and I live streamed this because I think we had like a record amount of people jump in because I thought they just thought we were going to go nuts at the Roosters just killing us, right? Mm-hmm. And at the end of the night, I went back and watched the last 15 minutes of our YouTube show, and I was speechless, and you could see the hurt on our faces because we were so close to the biggest upset in NRLW history. Mm-hmm. That's 19 in a row for the Roosters. That's 19 wins in a row. And we were 5 minutes away. And I know you turned around and said if Georgia Hanaway was on the field, she kicks that goal. Whatever. Don't take anything away from Shantu Kirioratu. She was, without a doubt, the second best player on the field. It just so happened that the best player on the field was Jocelyn Kelleher, whose boot is just that little bit bigger and better because she's that little bit more experienced. And she took the field goal on the third tackle. We weren't ready for it. She just took it, hit it, and she hit that. That hit the big screen on the full. Yes. That is a performance that, as a Sharks fan, I know that we lost it, and I know it's cliche, and you laugh at everyone who turns around and goes, "I'm so proud of my team." I was absolutely proud of the girls for that effort they put in, and to see the look on Ellie Johnston's face at full time, and Emma Varian in tears because they know just how close that was. It was gut-wrenching, man. It was gut-wrenching. I felt that. I felt every bit of that loss. It was like I was out there and I just played.
Me too. I took the kids across the road and I had to walk it out. Like I couldn't believe we got so close. Sometimes you'd rather just win 40-0. Not in this instance. This was that's the closest anyone's come, the Broncos included, to beating the Roosters. I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I don't particularly care. I thought some decisions went against us. We'll save that for the next segment. But you got two players coming back off long-term injuries. You got literal rookies out there in a prelim final against a team of superheroes. We don't joke about the super teams. That's 100% legit. There's about 3 people in the world. One of them's John Strange, and the 2 others are idiots on Twitter who try and get a rise out of us. It's a super comp. It was always going to be these 2 teams in the grand final. But my God, it was so good from the girls.
It was an unbelievable performance, and every single person every single woman who stepped up and played their part in that game, to me, right? And I'm not saying this out of biased eyes, but to me, that is the best game of NRLW I've watched this year. Yeah, it is 100%. 100%. That is the best game of NRLW I've watched this year. I've watched nearly every game. I've watched us throw away some stinkers. I've watched us win that classic comeback against Newcastle. I've watched the Roosters win every game 13+, bar this one. I've watched the Broncos win every game 13 plus, bar the game they lost to the Roosters by 13 plus. To see the Roosters at full time, and like that, it kind of got me a little bit there, turning around going, oh, yeah, you know, this is what we're about. We're here to win premierships, mate. Like, don't turn around and go, oh, we're the Central Coast, you know, Roosters or whatever they want. You're not. You're an absolute freak team. Like, I thought they were a little bit disrespectful there, but I've gone back and watched that game again, and I still can't see where their number 15 grounded the ball. Now, I've got no doubt in my mind that she scored the try, right? There's no doubt in my mind that scored the try. But the NRL haven't come out with an angle that conclusively shows that ball hit the ground. Belinda Sharp was right there and said, I haven't seen the ball on the ground. Every angle that we saw, that Liam Kennedy saw, and he's just turned around and said, yeah, the ball's definitely grounded. No, it's not. It's not. It's not definitely grounded.
No, you're right. You're not wrong. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent in the next segment, so I'll leave that for now. But you're not wrong. We had 2 prelim losses, unfortunately. They go with the flag. But our team that didn't lose a prelim, the Harvey Norman girls, are champions for the first time. Congrats to them. That was 70 of the most difficult minutes to watch. Now, those that haven't seen it on Bar TV, understandable. We flew out to an 18-0 lead, had the ball attacking their line, threw a pass. Our girl was through untouched to score. 24-0, it's game over. They take an intercept, go up the other end and score, and then grind out, and we have to hold on for an 18-12 win. But we went in as huge underdogs. Now, late on, we did call Dutoit in, who had an amazing game.
Was she best on ground?
Yeah, she won best on ground, and I have no arguments there. Our centres were outstanding, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them take the step up in the future. Jacinta Carter was huge. It was good to get one, like as a Sharks fan. And at full time, the way they all collapsed and sort of, it was a good one to get.
Yeah, and so I was down watching the local A-grade competition in the Illawarra before I flew out to Bali, and we were sort of watching the reserve grade A-grade game, and then watching this, and I've gone up in the air when full time went, and everyone around me was like, wait, what happened? Like, the ball's in the middle of the field. I was like, oh, sorry, I'm just watching this. And then you take off the Bar TV because I logged in on your details, and I was actually watching the game that I was watching on Bar TV when I was getting the commentary. And I'll tell you what, the South Coast commentators, they nailed that commentary of that game. But to go back into the Harvey Norman girls, it was unbelievable. I didn't see a try. I didn't see a single Cronulla Sharks try, but I saw all 3 of the Knights tries, and so I turned it off and we won.
Good. I would hope so. But congrats to them. So we got one, which is really cool. But make sure you check Finn's up. We'll do something this week at some stage. Not 100% sure yet, but we'll do a full run down of everything. Terry's got his special thing to come. But, mate, a pretty darn good season for the Sharks.
Yeah, if you're a Sharks fan right now and you're feeling a little bit dejected about what happened, take that, because at the same time, you have to realize that we were one of 4 NRL teams to play in the prelim, and we were the only club that had representation in every single semi-professional or professional grade. You know, so take it, enjoy it, feel your sorrows, lick your wounds, but we come back next year and we're just as strong.
Greatest team in the world, mate.
Let's talk some NRL now, Dan, because the prelims have gone. We've got lots of news going around, but I'll throw this over to you because you're pretty passionate about this one.
I am very passionate about this. Referees, Terry, a couple of months ago, check my Zero Tackle articles. I have the receipts. I said that a big game would be decided by a video refereeing error, that games would be decided by refereeing errors. Everyone went, yeah, look, we know, but what can we do? We're now at a spot, mate. Now, I would argue that all 4 prelims probably went to the best teams. I think Cronulla were robbed. I don't want to come across as biased, even though I'm wearing the hat.
NRLW, yeah. Let's say that, yeah.
Yeah, but there were 2 things on the weekend that annoyed me. I'm going to focus on one. Last week, Tom Starling runs out of the line, puts a hit on Tom Hazelton, head clash, reviewed, no penalty. Everyone said, okay, that's the way it's set now. This week, exact same thing happens. Braden Trindle runs up, head clash. Referee says, yep, no worries. Melbourne challenge, goes up, penalty. Almost the exact same situation. The exact same official, two extremely different outcomes. That cannot happen in a professional footballing environment.
Hold up. It wasn't the exact same official. It was the exact same bunker official.
Same bloke who ruled on them both.
So this is the thing. I actually think the situations were worse when you think about Tom Hazelton, because, as I said, Tom Hazelton is 6'6". Tom Starling is 5'9", which means he actually had to get off his feet to headbutt Tom Hazelton. The clash between Trindle and Hughes was exactly the same, head on head. The thing that annoyed me the most about it, and we still haven't seen anything about this, is that Toby Rudolph took a hit up off the kickoff, copped a shoulder to the face, and had to go off for HIA. Billy Burns got kicked in the ear, and had his ear bleed and had to go off for the HIA. Jerome Hughes got a mouthful of blood. No HIA. That's the thing that makes it worse for me. The fact is that it was the penalty last week and the non-penalty last week and the penalty this week is something that you can turn around and go, oh, well, I know we weren't punished for it last week, but at the same time, it was the exact same incident and a worse outcome for our guy because he missed this game.
Now, I'm not a fan of Chris Butler at all, Terry.
Chris Butler is a shocking official.
Good. I just wanted that out so people don't think, oh, but you're trying to hide your bias. I have a huge bias towards this bloke. I think he's hopeless, and I find it offensive that he sat in the second game after that. Now, the second incident I want to discuss, Terry, I'll cast your mind back to 2 weeks ago in Canberra. There was a coming together, and Hudson Young said, you're a naughty boy, or something along those lines. Bit of a scuffle. Referee said, you got to go. This week, we saw a bit of a scuffle on the ground. I had no problem with the tackle by Ezra Mann to
and people have put out the screenshot. I've got the image here. Cleary's foot was on the ground when Mam hit him.
He's fine. I also have no problem with the afters. I know Cleary pushed out with a fist. It wasn't a punch. It was a push. I have no problem with Mam pushing back, play on. Liam Martin, in the one run that he made in that game, because he ran for like 54 metres, big game player, I don't think so, ran halfway across the field, literally 30 metres, to strike. Now, it wasn't a punch. It wasn't a king hit like some people have said. It was just a strike to the back of Ezra Mam's head. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, well, too bad. Letter of the law, he's the third man in, escalated a scuffle. Chris Butler, that guy again, sat down, took a look at 3 replays and said, oh, yeah, that's a penalty and nothing more. That is a sin bin every day of the week. And if he'd been sent off for striking a bloke in the back of the head after running 30 metres to get involved, I'm not arguing. I'm glad it wasn't, because I don't want that deciding a prelim final, and it would have given Penrith fans something to complain about, though they find it. How that wasn't a sin bin is offensive to me, and the fact that by the time this drops, he'll be named as the video referee for the grand final says to me there's something very, very wrong in the refereeing ranks. I'm not making any assumptions or any accusations here, but how he keeps his job after those 2 disgusting amateur errors, that's saying to me, the NRL's saying, we don't care about the grand final. We don't respect the grand final. That is how I feel, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm with you on that. The minute Liam Martin, the minute you saw him run across the field and take out Ezra Mann, I was like, well, he's gone. And I thought to myself, that was strategic from Liam Martin, because he's gone over to take out their 5'8", knowing that the pressure would be on Atkins and the bunker to turn around and go, well, Mam's probably got to go to the sin bin as well. I think Liam Martin also thought, if I run over, they're going to go back and have a look at the tackle, and hopefully Mam got him while he was in the air, but there was nothing wrong with the tackle. I'm glad that Brisbane got the penalty, but Liam Martin had to be sitting down for 10. Now, there was an incident earlier in the game where I think Xavier Willison was very, very, very lucky to not get sin bin for that cannonball tackle, because that's one of the worst that we've seen. And I'll cast your mind back to the Canberra game. Hudson Young puts a kick into the in-goal area, and Trindle tackles him. Hines tackles him simultaneously. They tackle us in the in-goal area, but a penalty is given. This is at 0-0. Penalty is given. and he said, oh, mate, you tackled him. Same thing happened. Karapani puts a kick in. Simultaneously, he's tackled by Nathan Cleary and no penalties given. Now, I didn't think either of them were penalties, right? I'm not saying that the Cleary one was a penalty. I'm saying that the Hines one wasn't a penalty. But I also put the tweet out that the interpretation of the rules depends on how the referee wakes up. If the referee's had a good night of sleep, he's probably going to let you get away with a little bit more. But that was that Liam Martin one was inexcusable. Someone had to go. He had to go to the bin.
Yeah, it was. And the fact that we haven't seen the NRL come out and say, "Oh, we got that wrong, but we'll work on it," disgusts me. They've just given up on that. To the women's game, you mentioned earlier.
This is the thing, though. You didn't want the Graham Annesley Monday morning, and this is why, because now no one can go in there and question them. They just get away with it now.
Yeah, I just didn't want him saying he got it right, because I know that's exactly what he would say. And we know for a fact that he can get it right. We go back to the NRLW prelim, and again, I'm biased. I'm wearing a Sharks hat, so take that within. I also think Liam Kennedy's the worst official in the history of rugby league. By some distance, I don't know what he's got over people. He's terrible. I'm not going to swear on my own show, but he's terrible. We saw two 50-50 decisions, let's call it that, even though I think it was 90-10, where the referees ruled one thing and he's overruled them without conclusive evidence. They're ignoring rules. Again, he's there at the bunker. He had both games and he'll get the grand final. And go back. I've got 10 worst decision of all time. 8 of them are Liam Kennedy and 2 of them are Chris Butler. There is something very, very wrong in the referee ranks. I might do a bit of deep diving, and if I can get the quote that I have verified, I'm going to run with it. So stick to that. But he cannot referee. He shouldn't be anywhere near Division 13 out Gymea Gorillas, let alone an NRL grand final. I just think the refereeing is at an all-time low standard. Not on the game. I thought Klein was fine, and I thought Atkins was probably better than bad, or better than good. I think he'll get the grand final. The video refereeing, though, is despicably bad.
I'll tell you who is the best bunker official, and I don't know how he's not in there. It's Jerry Sutton, right? Jerry Sutton on the field, when he has to make a split-second decision, he can't get it right. When he's got 900 camera angles, Jerry Sutton don't get nothing wrong. Put him in the bunker full time. Get him off the field. Fire Kennedy. Set fire to Butler, and just put Jerry Sutton in there. He don't get it wrong. Wyatt Raymond don't get it wrong.
Makes sense, but mate, they're not mates with the man in charge. So whatever, come at us, NRL. We haven't got any money and we haven't signed any contracts, so we can say what we want. Speaking of saying what we want, Terry, the Penrith Panthers gone. Everyone's saying the dynasty over. I have a problem with that, because you don't need to win every year to be a dynasty. God, they're going to be good for the next 5 years. We've seen them lose so many players. Crichton, Coruscant, Kickout, Taruva to a much lesser extent. I want to say to you, and we said it in the preseason, that they lost 2 integral parts in Jerome Luai, James Fisher-Harris. Which, if either, do you think had a bigger role to play in not getting them that step to the grand final this year? God, that sucks to say.
James Fisher-Harris, and it's not even close. Jerome Luai, good player, and we've seen him have his moments, but on the weekend, there was no one in that Penrith pack that could stand anywhere close to Payne Haas. It's James Fisher-Harris. I've seen people, like today, some outrageous takes going, Moses Leota is better than James Fisher-Harris. Are you mad? Are you insane? Penrith fans turn around and go, Leota is one of the best props in the competition. No, he's not. Moses Leota is probably the best second prop in the competition. You have your number one prop, your Tarpany, your Tino, your Haas, your Fanua Blake, your Terrell May. Then you have your next up, which is what we always said Toby Rudolph was. That's what Moses Leota is. The problem for Penrith on the weekend is they had 2 second props. They got Lindsay Smith and they got Moses Leota, both second props. They didn't have the pack leader to go out there and throw it out. Isaiah is a tremendous footballer. He's not an animal like James Fisher-Harris. That was a mountain too much to climb for them.
Yep, I agree. And I thought they missed the wide, but I thought Blaise Talangi had a fantastic season.
Blaise Talangi was really, really good this year. And he's only going to get better.
Yep. And I think Lindsay Smith's going to walk into a Kangaroos jersey and should have played Origin. I just think he is, a star in the making. But they didn't have James Fisher-Harris. I actually saw, it's funny you mentioned before, I saw someone with the most ridiculous take of all time saying that Leota was approaching Glenn Lazarus' reputation. And I think that was based on the fact they've won similar grand finals. But one was the undisputed best prop in the game, and one's probably the 12th to 13th best. Payne Haas, though, you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hyperbole. I know it's recency bias. That may be the biggest forward performance I've ever seen in a big game. And you're right. No one from Penrith could go with him. He had to play 80 minutes. No Pat Carrigan. This guy might be the best ever.
Well, we'll talk about that in the Broncos segment, Dan. We'll talk about Haas in the Broncos segment that we're going to do. But let's go back to Penrith. And you talk about it over the years. They've lost Talon May, and what's the Tyrone May. They've lost Matt Burton. They lost Kickow. They lost Crichton. They've lost Taruva. They lost Api Coruscant. They lost James Fisher-Harris. They lost Jerome White. If you named that at any other club, that club, you would expect them to be like 13th.
Not possible.
You'd expect them to be encroaching Titans territory. But you know what happened? This club, their Jersey Flegg team made a grand final. Right? Yes, they got flogged. That Melbourne team was unbelievable. Right? Mm-hmm. Their New South Wales Cup team only missed the finals because they rested so many players throughout the year. That Penrith New South Wales Cup team monstered St. George during the regular season, gave a very, very good account of themselves against New Zealand, beat us. We were one of the better teams. Beat Canberra, one of the better teams. Beat Parramatta, one of the better teams. Their New South Wales Cup team is fine. Their NRL team gave the entire competition an 11-week head start. Mm-hmm. At the end of round 11, they were last, and we were dumping on them. Mm-hmm. And they made a prelim. If they had won the grand final this year, that would have been their best achievement. 100%. Dynasties aren't over just because they lost. Now, if they don't win a grand final for the next 5 years, yes, dynasty over. But you have a look at the Celtics, the Lakers, Rangers, and Celtic, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool. You have a look at the New England Patriots. They didn't win every year, but it's still a dynasty. It would not shock me to say this to you, that if they win 3 of the next 5 premierships.
Possible.
It wouldn't shock me whatsoever, because on one hand, when you talk about recruitment going in and out of clubs, good players are going to want to go and play on other teams to beat Penrith and be like, yeah, we beat them. You have a look at your Reece Walshes and stuff. They can now turn and say, yeah, we beat Penrith. But good players are also going to want to go at Penrith because they know that they're going to get back in. This side's going nowhere. This club is going nowhere. The Panthers should be proud of everything apart from their supporter base.
Agreed. But we'll move on because that's an easy layup. To the Broncos. You mentioned earlier, and I mentioned quickly that I thought Payne Haas had one of the all-time great forward performances, maybe one of the greatest performances of all time, flat chat. Prelim final, 80 minutes, no Pat Carrigan, cramping up for a large majority of the last 20 minutes, 180 metres, 80 of them were post-contact. There was a try saver and the ball was rolled in, and Payne Haas was the one there. A prop forward 70 minutes in, saving the literal season for them. He might be the best ever. This Brisbane team, I called them to win the premiership about 2 months ago. I just like what I saw. Full disclosure, Payne Haas is the number one reason why, because I didn't see anyone. I don't think Stefano's up to it. I think Final Blake is close, but not quite, and that's not a bag on anyone. He's just nothing. I didn't see Penrith with anyone close. I just think across the competition, a lot of people sort of, that matches that. They scrub each other out. There ain't no one like Payne Haas, mate. The Broncos, they are so good.
You go back, you mentioned him. I'm glad you mentioned him, Lazarus. He started playing in an era where if you were subbed out, you couldn't go back on. So your front rowers were asked to do a mountain of work and there was limited interchanges and whatever, right? Then they changed the rules and Glenn Lazarus still was able to play big minutes and Shane Webke was able to play big minutes. The first real 80-minute performance that I remember from the front row was Paul Gallen in Origin. Gallen used to play 80 minutes every week at lock and run for 200 metres or whatever, but that Origin performance, that was mental. After him was Jason Taumalolo. Gallen passed the mantle over to Jason Taumalolo, and then Payne Haas has come in and snatched it. And he's just said, this is my mantle. I am going to go down as the greatest prop forward of all time. That performance on the weekend was legendary. And I'll say this, he will play 80 minutes in the grand final as well if it's needed.
Yeah.
If it's a close game, if they fall behind, he's staying on. If they're just in front, he's staying on. And this is a lot of ifs. If it's level, he's staying on. The only way that he's going to get a rest is if Brisbane throw out to an early lead or Melbourne are just blowing them off the park. Other than that, Payne Haas, they're going to do everything they can this week. They'll massages, foot rubs, pickle juice, light training. Payne Haas will have to play 80 minutes again if he's to overcome this Melbourne juggernaut. But he is, without a shadow of the doubt, he is the best prop that going right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's even close anymore. Far from the one-man army, of course. I thought Penrith kept Katoni Staggs extremely quiet to the last 20 minutes. They kept Reece Walsh extremely quiet. I thought they made Adam Reynolds look like a handbrake to the last 20 minutes. Then the fact that Brisbane had the rest, the fact that they had 45,000 of the 50,000 fans up there cheering them on. They were running downhill in that second half, and they overran in a semi-final, a prelim rather, a big lead. I think, though, and most people agreed, I think the biggest thing that happened that day was Reece Walsh in the last couple of minutes, knowing that he'd struck two really poor conversion attempts, threw the tee to Adam Reynolds and said, it's your kick. Mate, that took guts, because if Reynolds misses that, everyone's like, oh, Reece passed the buck. Nico Hines, is a wuss if he passes it on. That took so much from him. Yeah. And Reynolds nailing that kick. For him to step up and kick that cold, stuff dreams are made of, mate.
I want to say this as well. I know the players were kept quiet. I thought Ben Hunt had a really good game when he was playing at 6, and then when he went into dummy half. I know it sucks that you say that the Billy Walters injury has allowed this to happen, because Billy Walters had an incredible season. Ezra Mann, when he came on, was good. I thought the centers, Shibasaki and Staggs, were held really quiet. I think the fact that people came out and said Casey McLean is a weakness made Casey McLean play awesome. And he did a real good job on Katoni Staggs. But, yeah, it came down to the fact that Penrith ran out of legs, because they flew to New Zealand, they flew home, they flew to Brisbane. There's miles on the – Brisbane flew down to Canberra, had 13 days off before they played again, or 15 days off before they played again. I think it was – yeah, I think it was a hill too much to climb for Penrith, and they got out to that 14-0 lead. They didn't look comfortable. 14-0 to Penrith becomes 28 really quickly, but they just went out in the second half when they couldn't crack Brisbane. It was like, right, let's just get into protection mode, and they couldn't protect it. The best thing that happened to Brisbane was Reece Walsh missing the second kick, because at 14-10, they can't go for the 2-point field goal and they can't play for a penalty. At 14-12, they would have been every little touch on the face laying down trying to get a penalty, and they would have just had shot after shot at 2-point field goals. So that a try happened. For Reece Walsh to know, and go onto that side. Reece Walsh is a left-footed kicker. That's his favoured side, and he's been nailing them the last couple of weeks. But for him to turn around and go, you know what, Adam Reynolds, this is your moment. Adam Reynolds nailed it, and I know he's going to have flashbacks to 2021. Why didn't he hit it that sweetly? He hit that sweetly in 2021. It just didn't curve enough. That was beautiful. It was poetry. And what that meant when he hit it is that it forced two things. One, Penrith had to go short. Brisbane handled it. And two, they had to have the 2-point field goal. Penrith stuffed that up by charging too far up the field. And it was almost like Brisbane led them. Brisbane were like, hey, your legs are still pumping. Let's just take you for another 10 to 15 metres and put you down. They botched that final play. Reece Walsh, though, the man of the moment, threw that pass over the top. Beautiful by Dean Mariner. Excellent to hand the tee over. Adam Reynolds nailed it.
And they're headed to the grand final, where they'll play the Melbourne Storm, who, of course, beat the Sharks, our Sharkies, on the Friday night prelim final. The Big Four all stepped up. Any worries about Jerome Hughes will probably put 75% to bed, because I think Brisbane will exploit that a little bit better than Cronulla did. But this is a team that a couple of weeks ago we were saying finished second, went through to a prelim with a minimal of fuss, and hadn't played that well yet. They played pretty darn well against Cronulla. I still think they've got another level to go, and I think they'll start big favourites on Sunday afternoon or evening rather. They're just a juggernaut to keep on going, mate. We called it on Friday night. We said Alex Chan doesn't worry us. Kamikamitha's been terrible, and Stefano is the 5th best forward on the field. Probably 3 of the 4 best forwards in the game. They just do it every year in a big game. I hate it, but God, you got to respect it.
And you have a look at guys like Will Warbrick, who was a rugby sevens player. He's got the Olympic tattoo on his arm. No one wanted him. They take him. Nick Meaney was laughed out of Belmore when they were coming last and second last and get beaten 66-0 by the Knights. They took him. Xavier Coates. I know Brisbane wanted to keep him, but they didn't think he was worth the money. Goes down there, going to be in the Dally M team of the year. You know, Jerome Hughes played 1 game for the Titans, 1 game for the Cowboys at fullback, and Craig Bellamy looked at him and said, I'll make you the best 7 in the comp. Josh King wasn't wanted where he was. Come on down. Eli Katoa started at Melbourne, went over to New Zealand, was shocking. Craig Bellamy said, I'll pay you to come back. Come on back. Trent Liero has played in the centres, has played on the wing. He's now an Origin lock forward. Tyron Wishart was a winger, like his dad. Can now play anywhere on the park. Like, I don't know how. Tui Kamika, Alec McDonald. Like, these guys, you know, and then they go and get a Stefano. And it's the first time in a long time that they'd recruited an Origin player that had actually played Origin, you know? Mm-hmm. Ryan Pappenhausen, too small for the Tigers, goes down there. He's insane. This juggernaut just keeps on going. Now, they've been in the competition for 28 years. Right? They've made 11 grand finals in 28 years. I know 4 of them, they were cheating or whatever. You know, 26, 27, 28, 2006, 7, 8, 9. They were cheating. They were over the cap. Take them out. 7 grand finals. That's 1 every 4 years they make a grand final, Dan. They are an insane club. And I know you're talking about dynasties. This whole club is a dynasty.
Yeah, they've had maybe 2 down years, the one where they finished last for obvious reasons. And one where I think Canberra knocked them out in the first round of the finals a couple of years ago. They are insane.
That was 2023.
And they won the Jersey flag by a long margin, anyone who watched the game. They got some freaks coming through. I don't know their Queensland Cup standard. I that's the one competition I don't watch.
But last year, Dan, their New South Wales Cup affiliate were in the grand final against us.
This is just... they are so good, and we'll preview it in a couple minutes' time. But this team, mate, they started favourites for a reason, and they'll go in this week as favourites. Go one. I think losing last year's kicked them on. Probably the worst thing that could have happened to the competition because they're like, yeah, well, now we're going to win a couple in a row. So, no one again, mate.
No. But Dan.
Talk to me, Terry.
There we go. I knew you were going to get it. Let's preview the 2 big grand finals. Well, let's even bring the state championship in. No, I actually don't because I don't know who won it. I know the Warriors won. I think they're going to clean house. They're going to clean house anyway. I'll pick the Warriors in that one. The NRLW grand final, the 2 super teams, the undefeated Roosters against the Brisbane Broncos. The Roosters got the scare in the prelim. The Broncos didn't. They wiped the floor with the Knights. Still, the Roosters know how to win. They're coming off a premiership. The Broncos, I don't know. I'm going to pick the Roosters to win.
Tip the Broncos. I know the Roosters got them, but they walked the Knights. They had a weekend. They had a week off. Although maybe that was the almost loss the Roosters need to have. So I might have egg on my face. They're both got this has an Origin feel because it's pretty much Origin squads. I think this needs to be the best NRLW game of all time to justify this disgusting, lopsided NRL rigged, as I call it, season. I just think the Broncos get them. I think Tamika Upton went up there to win a premiership, and I think she's going to get it.
I'll take the Roosters in a close one. Now, the main event of the night, the Melbourne Storm, second seeded Melbourne Storm against the 4th place Brisbane Broncos. It's the first time in a while since we've had no New South Wales representation in a grand final. 2017, the Storm and the Cowboys played.
Well, Penrith were in the last 25, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they were. Cronulla won 2016. So, yeah, we've always had a New South Wales team going back to 2017, before that 2015, and then I think it was the 2006. This is the replay of that grand final.
Mm-hmm.
Melbourne, they are Melbourne. They are a juggernaut. They've got the big game players. They've got probably the best spine in the competition this year, and I think that's really important because your spine players are your big players. I think the Broncos have got a forward pack to be feared. They are massive. They have Payne Haas. And I know Stefano's down there at Melbourne, and he's going to be awesome as he grows into his body, but he's not Payne Haas. They've got Reece Walsh, who is clinical. They've got Adam Reynolds, who on his day, his boot doesn't leave you. His body may be letting him down, but his boot hasn't. Ezra Mann, Ben Hunt, Katoni Staggs. I think the Broncos have got a bit too much firepower overall, but the Melbourne Storm have just got the class players. Who are you tipping?
I'm going to tip Brisbane. I'm not backing off from what I said a couple of weeks ago. I think Pat Carrigan coming back in tips it in their favour. I think they've just got one too many big game players. Tony Staggs out. I think he's going to play for Australia. I think that's going to come out after the game. I think they'll win. Not well, but I think they'll win by 6 to 8 points. Although it wouldn't shock me, of course, if it goes the other way. But Brisbane for me, Terry.
Right. Heads, I'm going to flip a coin. Heads is Melbourne. Tails never fails for New South Wales, but it did. Tails are the Broncos. Heads or tails? Heads or tails? Tails. I'm going with the Broncos.
2 for the Broncos. Flawless TV. We'll be back next week, huh? Maybe?
Definitely.